Yo guys, what is going on? It's Fen here again. So, I've been working on my new rig and it's almost complete, which I'm extremely happy about. I'm going to be showing you the head today, which is pretty much the last thing that I have to do to complete the rig. I'll quickly show you the, I won't say full rig because it's not, but the almost completed rig. It's a lot better than the one I worked on before. It's a lot quicker, less laggy, and very simple to use. And I'm designing this in a way so when people want to download this rig to use it, it's going to be extremely simple for you to use and animate. The other one, it was just too complicated. It doesn't have to be that complicated. And for people who have pretty much zero Cinema 4D experience, are just getting into it and just want to animate, then this is going to be obviously the rig for you. It's going to be very simplistic to use. There's pretty much a few things you need to click to control everything, and that's pretty much it. So in today's episode, I'm going to be talking about the head, because the head is the last thing I need to do for the rig, and it's one of the most important parts of the rig because it's where the emotion is shown. I was debating a lot about what type of face to do. Now, there's quite a few faces out there. There's the Hypernerve's mouth, where it's very smooth. This is the one I'm going to be using, but then there's a few different ways of controlling that. You can control it one way with using bones, or you can use it another way, which is using point morphs. I've gone for the point morphs. I'm the most comfortable with point morphs, and I think it'll work out well. If it doesn't, then I may try bones, but I mean, this is the stage I'm at. I'm just trying different things. At the minute, the mouth controls are actually looking okay. They don't look too bad. They've got the functions that I need. Smiles, frowns, a really wide mouth, really narrow mouth, wide open, and stuff like that. So it is looking pretty good. I'm going to show you how I use point morphs, and then I'm just going to show you the rig. I need to do the teeth, so the teeth at the minute are in the base pose morph, which means they're in the position that I want them to be in. The position of this character, he will have his teeth closed. So what I do is I go into the top teeth here, and I go right click, go to character tags, and drop in a pose morph. And then this pose morph will be named top teeth morph. It's important to name these because you're going to be using a lot of them. Now I can either use points, position. I think I might use position. We'll see how that goes. So the base morph here, I'm just going to rename this to top teeth pose. I'm actually going to rename that from pose to base. So I know this is the base mesh. This one here will be top teeth up. And the reason you name it is because when you start an espresso, you've got so many different things. You're going to be thankful that you named things. You just took a few seconds to name it. So these two are exactly the same because they're in exactly the same position. When I grab the up, I'm going to be moving this upwards, and I'm going to move it to an extreme pose, which is about there. Normally you wouldn't move it that far because it's actually above the actual mouth, but that's the extreme pose. It's always good to have extreme poses. You would never go that far, but if you had to for whatever reason, then you have that extreme pose, which is important. So now if I go to animate, you can see this is the animated pose. Now normally I'd maybe only go to about 55%, probably max, but if needed, again, you can go that extra 45%. So it's entirely up to you how far you go. It doesn't mean if you do a pose morph from there to there, you have to use that full 100%. It means that you have that 100%. You can use it that much, you can use it that much, any percentage, it doesn't matter. So now that we've got that, we will do the exact same thing for the lower. We'll name this bottom teeth, and this will be a position, and then this one will be bottom teeth base, and this will be named bottom teeth and then down, because we're going to be moving this down. So I've got the name and pretty much the direction it's going to be moving. In our case, it's going to be down. Now, one thing to note is you don't want to go too extreme where you're pulling this outside of the mouth, because it just wouldn't make sense to do that. But, you know, a reasonable gap is reasonable. So once I've done that, I can go to animate on both of these, and I can pretty much select both of these and use the strength to move these up and down. Now, the reason it's not actually working right now is because these are both set on 0. We would have to set these to 100 and then use this, and then we can actually go from 0% strength to 100%. So let's just say we want something like that. So that's pretty much how you use pose morphs. They're very simple. In Autodesk Maya, they actually use blend shapes where you create additional copies of this and then you blend through them. In Cinema 4D, it's a little bit different. You actually just use a tag instead. In 3ds Max, it's also the same as Maya, where you create copies and then you just basically link them copies and it will blend through them shapes. I personally think Cinema 4D has a better morph system in some respects, but you're still not going to beat the blend shapes of Autodesk Maya. They're just too good. Cinema 4D doesn't have that function per se. They do have workarounds and stuff like that, but just it's not the same. So that being said, let me show you the character, because right now you're looking at this and you're thinking, the hell? And the reason it's got a wire mesh is because of this tag here. The reason I use the tag is simply because I want you to see the teeth. And with this on, it's very difficult to see the teeth. So if I turn off or change the display mode to lines, I can see inside my mouth, and you can see this is what it's pretty much comprised of. So let's turn that off and let's render out this guy. He does have some ambient occlusion to fill in the shadows, and as you can see, he looks pretty cool. I have given him a nose simply because I think without the nose he looks very, very plain. If I can find the nose here and just turn it off and just give it a render, you'll see he just looks plain. He doesn't have any characteristics to him, and that's why I added a nose, because the nose is actually quite cool. You know, you won't really see the underside, so perhaps I didn't have to add these little holes here as nostrils, but still I think overall, like from the side and stuff like that, it just gives him so much characteristic. It is really, really nice. He of course has eyebrows, eyelids, eyeballs, and all these are actually, well, majority of them have post morphs already on. So for here you can see the eyelids, they can open and close. They're set around 30% right now. For the actual pupils, these have got a few different functions. You've got the up, you've got the down. These will be linked to Espresso, so that's why there's so many. You've got the up, which will go up, and you've got the down, which will go down, and then you've got the left, and then you've got the right, etc. Then you've got the scale up. Again, this is the extreme scale. You wouldn't have one like that unless he was completely stoned. And then you have a scale downwards, which means, again, if he's really shocked or stoned, this would be extreme. But you probably never go that far. Maybe something, again, like 50%. But still, the extreme pose is there if needed. What else is there? The mouth. Let's talk about the mouth, because the mouth is quite an important factor, and it's pretty much where the most work has gone. So in here in the mouth, we've got a few different poses. I'm going to put on the interactive render region so you guys can actually see the updates of this. Let me just bring the quality down so it actually updates quite fast. So yeah, I think maybe around there. Okay, so you've got the extreme pose here of opening his mouth, and probably I should turn on let me turn this up to full so you can actually get a good view of this, and turn on the hypernerves, because the hypernerves of course is important. So there we go. So that's the extreme pose of having his mouth wide open. Again, generally you probably won't have it that wide, so maybe something like 50% would look pretty decent. So he does have the ability to move his mouth up and down. He also has the ability to shorten his mouth. So pretend he's doing O shapes, where your lips make that little circle, O, and we can basically make that like here, for example. This would be him saying O, and that's kind of the shape that you want. And combining these two post morphs together, you can get these shapes. Like if he's saying ah, it would be kind of like this, like ah. He's opening his mouth to say ah. Obviously, it doesn't look realistic right now because his teeth aren't moving. But again, you could go to the teeth and you could open these up with a strength. So if we go here and open these up, now he's saying like ah. And that's pretty much the concept of it. Now, that being said, his default facial expression will be this, where it'll just be a nice small gap in his mouth. Because I don't know if it's most people, but when I'm not talking, sometimes I could have a mouth closed, or sometimes it'll just be left open like I'm trying to catch flies. But yeah, also he has a smile as well, which is kind of cool. I'll have to change his teeth so you can actually see it, because right now he looks like grandpa. But let's just bring these teeth down and bring these teeth down as well. So right now you can see that he has quite a big smile. We can increase his smile as well. So he's got a big grin on his face, and you know, this is basically just using post morphs. You probably could get a lot more facial expression out of this if you did use bones with some controls. But for simple animations, you don't really need all that. Also, he can frown as well. So you can maybe just give him a small frown. And you can obviously reduce the size of the gap. And you can also even shorten the gap if you wish. So using all four of these poses, you can get quite a lot of expression out of his face already, and that's just the mouth. Now, to complement the mouth, you would obviously use eye movements, you would use eyebrow movements as well. Because if you're talking, your face is going crazy, but you don't really realize it because it's just a natural thing. But when you're talking, your eyebrows will move, your lips will move, your cheeks will move, your jaw will move, and sometimes people even talk with their hands. So there's a lot of functions to expression, and it is about just experimenting. Best thing I can suggest if you are wanting to animate a mouth is just grab a mirror and say the line and just have a look how your mouth actually expresses itself and your features of your face relevant to, of course, your Minecraft character. So for me, really, it would be just the eyebrows, the eyes, and the mouth. I'm not really worried about the nose because this is going to be a static nose, but I could, if I wanted to add some controls in here for the nose to make it maybe flare out, or maybe if he's going to have a broken nose, we could dislodge it in some way. So that's pretty much, what I'm going for right now. He looks pretty good. I'm really, really happy with his teeth. I'm happy with the nose, the eyes, the mouth. I'm really happy with. There's many different ways to do a mouth. I personally use this way just because it's the way I taught myself to do it. It's the way I've done it in 3ds Max with post morphs. So it makes sense, but you can do this with bones as well. With bones, you tend to get more control, especially because you can add controls pretty much wherever you want. Wherever there's a bone, you can add. So, example for the eyebrows, I could have 4 bones in here, and I could make this arc really, really nicely. With post morphs, I could do the same, but of course that would require me to have more points and stuff like that. So generally, I guess it's just a working method, which one you want to use. Personally, I kind of like this guy. He's looking really, really cool right now. So just to kind of show you what this guy perhaps might look like, I'm going to copy this, I'm going to save this document, and I'm going to go File New, I'm going to paste this guy in here, and then I'm going to go to Control O to open up, find my desktop with all my crap on here, and I'm going to open up Arm Gap Fix, because this is the last one I fixed, and this is my character. Now as you can see, the character is here. I'm going to copy this character, I'm going to go to Windows and go into the Untitled 2 and paste it in here. The reason I'm copy and pasting is because I don't want to mess up the document that is the official document, if you like, because I'm not finished and I'm not going to do it yet. To transfer the head across, I'm going to do it in a different document just in case I mess anything up. So pretty much what I need to do is go to model mode, go into modeling, quantize, and just change this to 3.125, which is half a pixel, and I'm going to move this up, and it's going to lock in place to this head like so. Now I can actually go into the bones, and I can go down to the neck, and I can just grab this old head and delete that, and also actually do Control Z. I may have something in here. No, I don't. That's fine. I was wondering if I had a constraint on here, so I can delete that, and I can obviously delete the old head, grab our new head and place it in here, and pretty much just see what the character looks like from this kind of perspective. So I'm going to add ambient occlusion. The reason you add ambient occlusion because it just brings so much to your character. I'm probably going to go 15 for the ray length. The reason I go 15 for the ray length is simply because if you look at the eyes, they're very dark, and that's because this is only what is it? What would it be? Let's go on to display. I believe it is. Just undo that. Yes, so it's 12.5. So we want maybe 8 instead. So let's go to 8, and then we can render it again, and you'll see now his eyes aren't so dark. Maybe we want to put this down to 6. Finding the ray length is actually quite important. Let's do 5, because if you have too much, his eyes are going to be really, really dark, and it's just going to look silly. I'm actually going to probably go to 1 pixel, which is 3.125, and that should look pretty good. There we go. So we've got a little bit of shadowing in here and around the edges, and it looks pretty cool. So if we just look at this in general, this is the rig. So I'll just kind of talk to you through the rig. I'm going to turn off the lines, and okay, so this is the actual rig. Now if I move this around, you can see one thing I would want to do is turn off quantize, and I can move this around. As you can see, he's looking pretty good. His controls are a lot easier to actually click, and generally when you're animating, this is what you're going to be using. You're going to be using the controls. So if we just do a quick render from this perspective, you can see that there's not much texture stretching in his arms, which is fantastic. And that was one of the big issues I had using this new method. The textures on the arms were stretching way too much, and it's because of the way they were set up. So I've fixed that. Again, we can just grab the hip and move this down a tiny bit, grab the legs and move them out so he's not standing perfectly straight. Grab his back, or his spine if you like, and just rotate this forward just a tiny bit, because you don't want him to have a straight back, because that just doesn't really work out. So a little bend in his back. If you need to readjust his neck to fix his core, you can. And of course, that's pretty much it. So if we just do a really nice render of this guy, like so, you can see he looks pretty damn cool. I really like the look of him. A few things that I might change on the actual rig is the thumb. I'm not too happy with the thumb. I think it might be a bit too long. So what I may do is grab this and just move it in 1 pixel, like so, to shorten it. I think that might be a better idea. The thumb will still bend. If we go to the thumb, go to the fingers, and under the thumb we've got the espresso here. So if you use the thumb control, you can see it will bend properly, and it will go into place. So perhaps that's what I may do, just to shorten the thumb a little bit, because it does seem a little bit too long right now. But yeah, I mean, that's still working out, but yeah, maybe not. I'm not quite sure what I want to do yet. I might just grab this just one finger and move it in, but that's one of the things that I might change on the actual rig, or I might just leave it as is. But generally, yeah, I'm really happy with the way the character is working out right now. If we go to the head, and the head is here, and go to the mouth, which is on the head, and we can just give this guy a smile, and we'll give him a really big smile, because he is obviously extremely happy to see you guys, and he's really happy that you guys hit the thumbs up on the video. It's true, he is. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about today, is the process of the new rig, and of course the head, which I'm really happy with. If you've got any suggestions, please leave a comment about suggestions. I really like to hear other people's feedback, especially because I'm bouncing ideas off myself here, and generally bouncing ideas off yourself doesn't really work, because your opinion will always be biased. But so far I think it looks good. I am quite happy with how the character looks, but if there's anything else I could add to give the character more character, then let me know. And of course, always hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and of course leave a comment. I love them comments, I love replying to them comments. So that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you very much, and I shall catch you in the next episode. Peace.